Hello and welcome to Revive Your Soul, and this series is called The Original Wound, to help you understand the gift that you have been given. I know how crushing it is, believe me when I tell you, I know how crushing it is coming out of this type of relationship when you're questioning absolutely everything and you're trying to understand how your life has changed so much, how you've just been discarded and thrown away like a rag doll. Self-care should be really vital to our existence anyway. When you come out of an abusive relationship, whether it's physical or emotional, you're going to be crushed. There's not actually going to be very much of you left. It's like being a shell of your former self. So the original wound is finding out why and where you were wounded, very likely in childhood, and it's very possibly an abandonment wound. It might be a shame or guilt wound that you've got and that you're carrying. They saw something within you. They played their childhood wounding, and you wanting to fix and heal and help and rescue them went in and did just that. Now you might have seen the red flags. There might have been times when you thought that does not add up and that doesn't sound right, or there were things that happened and you found information, or you found that they were seeing other people, but there was something that held you within that relationship, and that is the original wound. What we need to find is where that comes from. So if you look at the A to Z, A being 1, Z being with the letters A being 1 and Z being 26, knowledge adds up to 96% and attitude adds up to 100%. We need 100%. We need the knowledge. We do need to understand. This is part of the closure. But we also need to work. We need to heal ourselves on so many different levels. I remember reading somewhere, it's like being, or hearing something, it's like being raped on so many different levels. And when I heard it, I thought, oh my God, that is so, so true. Financially, physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, you might feel like mush. You might not be able to function, and everyone's different. The cycle of abuse is the same, but everyone's got a different story. The cycle of abuse is the idealisation, the devaluation, and the discard. So you're put on a pedestal, you're praised, and you're told how wonderful you are. It might be that nobody else has ever understood them the way you understand them. You're soulmates. And then gradually over time, they test and poke. And in the devaluation stage, they might start to pick up on things that they thought you were absolutely amazing about you. They start to devalue. And then they go into devaluation, and what they're doing is they're hooking you up. They're hooking you up like a drug, to their drug. Your choice is them, and they're hooking you in, and they are making sure that you are invested in the relationship more than you're invested in yourself. You will do anything to protect that relationship, and you don't protect yourself. Now you've got an inner warning system, and this might be where you've picked up and something says this doesn't feel right, it doesn't sit right within me, and yet they'll come up with either an excuse or a reason. Very good at storytelling, and you'll be sucked into that relationship. So you're now doing anything, you're devalued, and you don't understand how you can go from being this person that's absolutely amazing to now this person who doesn't match up to their standards, isn't good enough. And that's triggering something within you. That's the original wound within you. And they come back around, and they might discard you for a period of time. So it might be days, it might be weeks, it might be months, and then they'll reappear. You can't get hold of them, and you know over a period of time, and it's really odd. It doesn't match up. The behaviour doesn't quite fit. And then they are back in your world, your life. They then put you back on this pedestal that they were starting to nudge you off, and your relief that you're back. And this is how they hook you in. They're hooking you up to this drug that is them. And this cycle goes on and on and on. It can be a short period of time before they finally discard you, or you've had enough and walk out. or it can go on for years. Some people, some of these people are known to be in long-term relationships and marriages, and some of them have got long-term relationships and marriages. So you believe this confusion in the relationship, and when it's starting to get nasty and you might think, you know this isn't quite right, but there's something holding you. When the final discard comes, whether it's you leaving or them leaving, it's a relief. Initially, it's such a relief. You think my life is going to be so much easier. And then all of a sudden the pain starts, the realization. And what they've done is they've tricked you into believing that you can't live without them. They've positioned themselves in your life that you are dependent on them. And they've withdrawn this drug, and it's like going cold turkey. Nothing makes sense. And where you were listening to their stories about their crazy ex, you're now becoming that crazy ex. When you get into a relationship, it isn't that normal for a person to have that many crazy people around them. As you start to share your story, you'll justify their behaviour because you believe it's all your fault. You believe because they've told you during the devaluation stage what's wrong with you, what's wrong with your relationship, that it's all your fault. And you start to, because it's done on such a low level. In a physical relationship, you know you've been hit, you feel it and you see it. In an emotionally abusive relationship, you don't know that's going on. It's so low level. To start with, you might think, well, that's not right. I don't agree with that. And over a period of time, you get worn down and you start to believe what you're being told. And when you come out of a relationship, you might just need to talk and talk and talk and talk. Okay, and this is crucial. Find people that have been through a similar situation. Find people who've experienced emotional abuse. Now, you'll be shocked actually how many people are out there. I remember talking to someone a couple of years ago and them saying to me that the percentage is only 1% of the population are like this, and that come under this cluster B personality, the narcissist, the sociopath, the psychopath, these emotional abusers. Now that research is was done back in the 50s, and these people cannot take responsibility, so they are not going to go and find help. They are not going to go and seek help because they do not believe that this is their fault. They are the victims. They are the ones that have walked away from this disastrous relationship that you've put them in and you've kept them in, and it's all your fault. Part of it is because there's this attraction, so we need to find the original wound. It could be as much as 18% of the population are like this, and we're all on this spectrum. It might be really low. And if you think of a child needs to be in a me situation for survival. But over the years, as we grow up, we're shown how to share, we're shown how to participate in group, emotional intelligence. These people haven't got that. They haven't, somewhere along the line in their childhood, something happened, and they are actually very insecure people. But it doesn't make that right. And when you've been in a relationship after relationship after relationship and you're repeating a pattern, it would be, you'd start to question whether there was something wrong with you. And they don't. They tell you it's your fault. And they walk off, and they have either already set up another relationship with somebody else, or they set up a small relationship, a short interim, because they haven't quite got to the relationship, they haven't quite set up the next long-term relationship that they're looking for. And they're going to repeat that pattern and repeat that pattern and repeat that pattern with other people. And this is where you need to work on you. It's really, really important that you find your tribe. You find a group of people that understand what you've been through, that understands your needs, and they understand when you tell them what's happened because they've been there. People that turn around and say, why didn't you leave earlier? You know, these people are not the people that are going to help you. You need to find a tribe. And now it's your time. and it's going to feel really, really weird. You might have this pain that comes from deep within your soul. Your life was consumed by this person from the very first moment. So it could be early morning text messages that you received to ensure that you were thinking about them, or they put a smile on your face first thing in the morning, so you were thinking about them during the day. It might be text messages at night, again, so you're thinking of them as you drift off to sleep. You may never have had this attention ever before. You might be living in a place of fear and not understanding how you're going to live without this person, because they've come in and they've placed themselves in, they've taken over your life basically. It's all about power and control. Got to work through the pain, acknowledge what has happened. You've been living with this person, or you've been in a relationship with this person for a long time, so you're going to learn and take on some of those traits. I urge you to take out a piece of paper quite early on. Two things actually. Firstly, take out a piece of paper earlier on, or get a notebook and start writing your story out, from the first initial red flags that happened, or the red flags within the relationship, those moments, and you will recall them, because these are the bits that are coming up that need healing. They're like little bubbles popping up to the surface. And I explain to people, if you had a ball, like a beach ball or something, and you're holding it under the water, these emotions that have been held under the water for so long, and all of a sudden they're going to be popping up. So you just think of how long you'd be able to hold that, how long you'd be able to hold a ball underwater for without the pressure, you know, on your arms, on your back, on your shoulders, on your neck. This is what you've been doing. You've been holding your emotions down, and all of a sudden everything's going to be coming up to the surface. So get a notebook and start writing out your story. Start writing out what happened and how you're feeling, and do that on a daily basis. Before you get up and do anything, before you go, you know, set your alarm 5 minutes or 10 or 15, 20 minutes early, and sit and write 3 full pages. It's the artist's way. And it's 3 full pages, no stopping, no thinking, just write out what's coming up for you. And it might be the first 2 pages of nothing, and then all of a sudden you'll get into the emotions that are coming up. And it's really, really crucial that we start to remove these, unhook. It's like, I used to describe this as like a fisherman. The process of this cycle of abuse is like a fisherman, and what he's doing is he's put his bait on, and he's thrown his line out, and he's caught a fish. He doesn't pull that out of the water straight away. He lets the line go a little tiny bit. He's just keeping the tension on there. I mean, this is a cycle. You've been hooked into this relationship on so many different levels. So we need to be working. You need to be working on releasing the emotions within the body. They are thieves. They really, really are thieves, and they've drained you of absolutely everything, and that's why you feel hollow. You feel nothing inside you, and your brain is not functioning. Think of the caterpillar. Now, the caterpillar, in the last week of its life, before it goes into its chrysalis and transforms, is growing a hard protection, a hard shell over its body, so that the actual skin starts to peel all the way up and over it, and reveals this new shell. And then what happens is, and this is where perhaps you are if you've just come out of a relationship, you're in this mushy stage. It actually chemically breaks down. It breaks down into goo and mush and gunk. However, there are a few little tiny bits that stay the same. So I don't know whether that's DNA or, you know, what it is within it. But it completely, if you broke it open at this point, it would be goo that comes out of it. It completely breaks down before it builds itself up and transforms into a butterfly. And this healing that you need to do, or the nurturing, the self-care that you now need, is this part where you're building yourself back up. You're changing into something truly amazing. You're transforming. So you're in this transformation stage. And then as it starts to grow out of the chrysalis and the chrysalis bursts around it, it doesn't fly away straight away. Okay, it has to dry out. I think it takes 3 or 4 hours to dry out. So do not think that you have to rush this. Do not think. We need to get you out of the pain. We need to get that wound healed. It might be many wounds. It might not just be one. There might be a few there. And so you can get to a point where you can understand what's been going on, and you can help others because you change your vibration and others change around you. You set the boundaries. You tell people what you're accepting and you show people how you want to be treated by the way you treat yourself. So this is the gift. This is the transformation, is the gift. And it might be that you're still at the very early stages, realization that actually they might not have loved you the way you believed they did, and the realization that the relationship wasn't true, and the realization that the future, the fake future that you created together, isn't true. You need to forgive yourself. There's a process in early childhood, the bond between the baby and the parent, the mother. And sometimes that doesn't establish itself. And that's what they do. They put themselves in this place of power. They get you to a point of complete and utter trust and handing over absolutely everything. So forgiveness is crucial. You need to take responsibility. You need to take ownership. You need to acknowledge and realign with who you are. Maybe you've never felt you fitted in, so this is your opportunity for now discovering who you really, really are. And in order to change your life, you need to change your entire belief system. And this is going back to childhood. So when I work with people, and we do this work on the wounds, we work with emotions, how we're feeling, where we're holding it in the body, and we do a bit of reparenting as well in part of that. And I watch people physically change in front of me. Physically change, whether it's colour coming back into their faces, literally they physically change. It's as if they've been animated in some way. And the truth is, you've been hiding this pain and pretending you're okay, and you're just burying emotions. So this could have been gone on for years, whether you've been out of this relationship for years and you're now in another relationship, or whether you're just coming out of it now. You're hiding and masking the pain, pretending everything's okay. And this is why we really need self-care in our lives. So physically, mentally, emotionally and spiritually. And it's incorporating little elements into every part of the day. This is looking after you. Setting up a routine, something, a morning routine, an evening routine, whether it's a salt bath in the evening with candles, and in the morning it's some exercise. We need to be changing how we're feeling and changing the chemicals in our body. When we think about the negativity that went on in that relationship, it brings your vibration down. It brings how you feel right down. By even just moving and putting on a piece of music and dancing to it, you can change that chemical and keep yourself on a even keel. But that, by all means, if you need to break down in your cocoon state, not a cocoon because it's not a cocoon, chrysalis states, and that's part of it, is to break down. Let those tears flow and do not stop them. If you're in a position to let them flow, do. Let them go. If you feel that you need to go and lay on the bathroom floor or the bedroom floor and just sob, or climb into your bed under your duvet and just sob, do it. Get that emotion out as long as you can, because it's a polarity. The polarity from that unhappiness and that pain that you're experiencing on the other end is laughter. And you can cry and cry and cry, and all of a sudden there's not a lot left. And if you let it go, you can then go into laughter. and work right the way through. And this can happen a few times. It might not just be once, it might be a few times, but allowing that release, it's that bubble, it's that ball that you're trying to hold under the water. Let it go, because at some point it wants to come up and be addressed. It's going to explode in your face. It's going to pop up and smack you in the face when you're least expecting it. It doesn't feel like it at the moment. It doesn't feel that this person that's walked into your life has given you this amazing gift, but they really, really have. They've given you the chance and the responsibility to take ownership and acknowledge who you are. This is your time to do the healing, to go in and to find out where that wound is. Find a tribe. It's really, really crucial that you find a tribe of people that understand what you're going through. Now, I've set up a Facebook community called Mind the Gap. You're more than welcome to join, and there's meditations and there's going to be information. It's quite new, but it's a space that I want to hold. I want available for people to do that work, to find out the information they need to find out, why it happened, why it makes no sense. And the other thing I would urge you to do is, when I said there were two things, one was journaling and one was writing your story out. The second one is, if you find something that makes so much sense to you and you get that aha moment and you understand this was emotional abuse and something triggers within you, save that video, save that article, save whatever it is, a passage in a book, and go back to it, because there will be times as you're healing and you're coming up and you're realizing what's been going on, that you might sink back down to that, because you're detaching all the time, but there are going to be points where you go back to that. This is all my fault, and I am the abuser, and I am this bad person. Whereas you can go back to this quote, the video, and go, oh no, actually, no, it gets you back on track and brings you back up again. But please go in and find the original wound. This has been a gift. It might not feel it, but this is where you turn all that grit into gold. Because I know how difficult this is. Sending you lots of love.